How good is a dog's sense of smell? When you find out, you'll be even more disgusted than when you see them sniffing each other's butts. But that's what makes them such good detectives. When a group of specially trained canines was hired to sniff around an archaeological site, their noses made a history-defining discovery. The term cadaver dog doesn't conjure up the most appealing visual, but it certainly is accurate. Their job is to literally smell death. How else do you think we find bodies in the middle of nowhere? They might have the strangest jobs of any animals. Cadaver dogs are trained exactly the way you'd expect. Human remains are sent to dog trainers to help coach pups on finding the right scents. Sometimes old graveyards are used with the fresh remains to train the dogs on spotting the difference between old and new decomposition. Grossing you out? We're just getting started. These dogs are so reliable, they have a 95% accuracy rate. They even know the difference between human and animal cadavers. They undergo over 1,000 hours of training, which is like 10,000 in human years, and have smell abilities 10,000 times greater than our own. Their sense of smell runs really deep. Cadaver dogs can smell a decomposing body at up to 15 feet underground and 30 meters underwater. But sorry, mass murderers, this doesn't mean you can bury a body 16 feet deep and call it a day. A single drop of blood or piece of bone is enough for these dogs to discover any body. When it comes to completing the mission, these pups never give up. Seriously, all they want is to impress their master by tracking the scents they've been trained for. Forget Liam Neeson. We want to see a dog save a little kid from certain danger. They can even help with medical dangers. Thanks to their ability to detect lightweight compounds and evaporated odors, dogs can sniff out melanoma cancer and even pregnancy complications. They can differentiate between bodily fluids, tissues, bones, you name it. They smell it. That's how researchers got the idea to bring cadaver dogs along for archaeological digs. Typical surveillance for archaeological sites requires techniques like fielding the area, using photos from above, or infrared imaging through satellites. However, none of these processes utilize the power of scent, which one field worker pieced together. An archaeologist named Vedrana Glavis from the University of Zadar in Croatia had heard all the wonders of cadaver dogs. With an interest in studying Croatia's centuries-old past, she decided to bring in the trained pups for a very promising excavation. In 2014, Vedrana and her team uncovered something remarkable. They were working on Velebit Mountain and came upon an old fort estimated to be 3,000 years old. To see what was inside, Vedrana called in the cutest experts she knew. After spending time excavating in the old-fashioned way, Vedrana asked trainer Andrea Pinter and her crack team of police cadaver dogs to assist. Some of the police cases Andrea has worked on are 30 years old, said Vedrana. We both wondered how far back in time her dogs could smell. Turns out, very far. Andrea brought 4 dogs on for the search using both a blinded and a double-blinded study. When the dogs were let into the 3,000-year-old fort, they started searching the only way they knew how. At first, it didn't seem like the dogs were making any headway. They each seemed to be tracking different scents and wanted to go in opposing directions. Vedrana thought perhaps any human remains left to discover were far too decomposed by now. Still, they kept looking. Vedrana's team was thrilled when the dogs finally began making headway. However, it took Andrea's persistence with her well-trained canines for them to get to the best part of the excavation. What they found had everyone's tails wagging. The dogs had stumbled on 5 prehistoric tombs from 800 BC. How did they know where to look if there weren't any fully formed corpses inside? Panda, one of Andrea's dogs with a particularly sensitive nose, revealed the answer. When Panda's nose pointed at an old burial chest, Andrea froze. I was skeptical and I was like, "She is kidding me," Andrea told the New York Times. The hairs on her arms were standing on end as she called over the rest of the team. When they opened up the chest, it was obvious what Panda and the other dogs were picking up on. The dogs were smelling the smallest, oldest remnants of human leftovers possible. If you're ever wondering what part of your body will decompose last, the answer is apparently your finger and toe bones. This meant the dogs were detecting human remains that had been decomposing for thousands of years. Forget cold cases from 10 years ago, dogs could be sniffing out ancient murders or long-lost historic figures. Where was Princess Anastasia buried? Where did Amelia Earhart go? Who really let the dogs out? Leave it to the dogs themselves. As Vedrana's team continued their extraordinary dig, they noticed that the dogs weren't quite done. While the archaeologists were knee-deep in tombstones, the dogs kept on barking. Eventually, their researchers followed them, though they seemed to be heading to the middle of nowhere. Remarkably, the dogs came across a sixth tombstone. Were there more fingers and toes inside for the pups to chew on? Not quite. Despite the team's excitement, this sixth tombstone turned out to be the same as the others. And yet, Vedrana's excavation still managed to inspire archaeologists from around the world to add cadaver dogs to their teams.